The Public Service Association is consulting its members over the government's revised 3% increase offer. The union wants an above-inflation wage increase, citing the high cost of living and other related factors. For more on this, we're joined by PSA Chief Negotiator Claude Naicker from Cape Town. Mr. Claude Naicker, thank you very much for your time this morning. Now, you do indicate, or it has been reported on, that should your members reject this 3% offer, there could be a potential strike on the cards. So perhaps engage us on what it is you're going to be communicating to your members in considering this latest offer that's been made by government.
Very good morning to you, ma'am. Good morning to your listeners. Yes, you will recall that the initial offer by the state was a 2%, and this prompted the PSA to immediately declare a dispute because the employer had indicated at that stage that that was the final offer. While we're still with the dispute process, the employer had called us back to the negotiating table, and they upped the offer from 2% to 3%. Now, this is coupled with the cash gratuity that was in place last year, that continued this year, and it's still as part of the wage negotiation. It's a cash allowance ranging between 1,600 to 1,200. And also coupled with that is a 1.5% pay progression based on performance. So that is what is currently on the table. 2 weeks ago, this was placed on the table for unions to consider. The PSA and other unions have reverted back to their members and to have a look and see if members will accept this offer. Some of the unions indicated that it's looking a bit much better than where we had started off. The PSA started this balloting process almost a week ago on Wednesday, and we will end our balloting process on Monday. If members do give us the thumbs up to sign this agreement, we will definitely sign this agreement. However, if they still feel that it's not a suitable offer that's tabled, then there's no option left for us for obviously to go on strike action. We've come to that stage where we've already balloted our members in terms of strike action. There's overwhelming support for strike action. So if this offer is not accepted by our members, we will definitely be considering industrial actions in the coming weeks.
Yeah, and I mean, one of the indications that the state has given in offering such a low percentage increase for workers is because the state simply has no money in its kitty. Is that something that you have considered as a union and something that you have taken as a fact from government when consulting your members?
We always take this into factors, not only with the state, but other departments that we negotiate. You will recall recently that the ESCOM offered its employees a 7% increase, and the beleaguered ESCOM obviously get much of its funding from state. So if they had enough money to actually pay ESCOM employees an inflation-linked salary increase, I can't see why public servants who are at the forefront of delivery of service cannot be considered for the same increase as well. You must recall that we are negotiating in a backdrop where public servants did not get any salary increase in 2020. It was part of a 3-year agreement where the state had reneged on and refused to pay the third year of that salary increase. So we were left far worse off than other employees. And you must remember, during the entire COVID period, most of the essential services workers were rendering service during that period. I don't think it's an unrealistic demand that we made. We initially started off with a 10% demand. We revised our demand to 6.5%. Taking into account what's on the table is not what we set out to achieve. But if you look at the 3% plus the cash gratuity and the 1.5% pay progression, we come close to what we demanded. So that's why we felt that it's incumbent that we present this offer to our members who will decide at the end of the day whether to accept it or not.
Claude, what about the issue of early retirement? It has come up in previous negotiations over the years in that public servants can choose to retire early and there would be no penalties. Is this something that has been put on the table by government this time around?
Absolutely correct. This offer initially was subject to 3 conditions. One was an early retirement, as you indicated, without penalties. The other one was There would be no filling of vacancies in the public service whatsoever. And the third one was a forced retrenchment initiation on behalf of the state. All three of this has been in the public service before. If you look at the early retirement proposal, that has been initiated before, and the state openly indicated that this did not realize the cost saving that they anticipated. So that was shelved. I see it was brought back on the table at the inception of this new agreement or this new offer. We totally rejected that, and we said that any increase must be without any conditions whatsoever. The employee has ceded to that request and they've removed those conditions. I foresee, or we foresee as a PSA, that these things will come back onto the bargaining chamber. But for the moment, that has been shelved, so there's no conditions attached to the current offer on the table. If something like that is proposed, we'll have to negotiate in the bargaining chamber. You must remember the public service has not been filling posts for the last couple of years, especially in the health and education sector. And the Minister of Police has also indicated that they're totally understaffed. And if you go to the situation where you're not going to be filling this post, I think we're going to be falling into deeper crisis with the current situation of not rendering a quality service because of the lack of staff. So any of these proposals that they have stated or they have proposed rather should be negotiated as a bargaining chamber, and if it's feasible, we will present it to our members.
Finally, Claude, are you not concerned, given the state of the current economic affairs of South Africa, that a potential strike could further worsen the situation, not only of your workers, or your members rather, but the country as a whole?
We always take that into account. You must remember that no union wants to go on strike. It's always the last resort in a negotiation process. We come to a situation where we ask for a certain increase, and this increase is based on the current situation that members are facing, taking into account the fuel price, basic commodities that they're unable to afford. So at the end of the day, the 6.5% that we actually demanded, we felt that it was not a realistic, it was a realistic demand. You must remember that the inflation has just moved up a percentage as well. So the demand that we're actually asking for is below inflation. So I think the state should have considered seriously taking into account all these factors, taking into account that the increase that they offered ESCOM, and come to the party and say, listen, we can offer public servants a decent salary increase. We're totally aware of the current economic situation, but I think government, it's not only public servants that are aware, it's ordinary citizens that are aware of the current looting, the maladministration that's taking place. I think if government takes extra precaution, extra measures to recover all this money, I'm sure we can all live with a decent salary increase, or the government can afford a decent salary increase for public servants.
Claude Naicker, thank you very much for joining us this morning. He's from the PSA, saying that they're going to be engaging their members around the latest offer that's been put on the table by government, a 3% increase in wages for public sector workers. Of course, they are requesting a 6.5, which is still below inflation, by the way, because that's at 7.8%, according to the last print from Stats SA, rather.